Welcome, everyone, to the HockeyNorth podcast. I'm your host today, Tyler Croom, joined here with the one and only Brendan Pawliw. Brendan, how are you doing today?
Well, it's been an eventful weekend of hockey. Playoffs are in full swing pretty much everywhere. It's a fun time of year, and it's definitely makes for no shortage of intrigue. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good. I mean, my Dallas Stars won tonight as we're recording here on Sunday, so the series is tied 2-2. I can let the nerves dip away a little bit as I think it's been more of a closer series than I thought it was going to be. I thought Dallas was going to have a little bit more of their say here in this first round, but credit to Minnesota. They're playing a tight checking game, and they know their identity as a hockey team, and they're getting really good goaltending. So it's made for a very good series both ways.
Yeah, it's been very tight checking, as you mentioned. LA and Edmonton pretty much back and forth, and a lot of the other ones too. I mean, it's been a very good playoff so far, and I would imagine it's only going to get better here, even as we draw closer to a close from round number one.
Yeah, I think so too. And, I think it's not unreasonable to expect a lot of these series to go in the first round anyway, to go quite far. I think the only one we're probably going to see come to a short end here is going to be Boston and Florida, and then probably the Islanders and the Canes, as the Hurricanes have really put a stranglehold on that series with a 3-1 lead. So I think we'll see how things play out, but it's the NHL playoffs. As far as I'm concerned, anything can happen. We've seen stranger things, and it's going to be fun to follow.
Yeah, and of course, the season for the Prince George Cougars also ending a 4-game sweep at the hands of the Seattle Thunderbirds. We would be remiss not to talk about that. Of course, Seattle loaded for bear just in terms of its roster. 10 drafted and signed NHL draft picks. 7 of those guys, including Brad Lambert, playing in the World Junior Hockey Championship. They outscored the Cougars 25-5. We knew that the Cougars were stacked up against Seattle, but were even you surprised by how lopsided some of the scores were?
Yeah, I didn't expect there to be blowouts in this series. I think not to the degree that we had here in games 3 and 4 at the CN Center. I'm not surprised in the sense of, you've got the offensive talent all the way up and down that lineup for Seattle. They're a very good hockey team, but the Prince George Cougars, they're a very capable team as well. And I really thought that there'd be a little bit more urgency to keep the puck out of your own zone a bit and play your checks a little bit harder and try and minimize the damage of the Seattle team and maybe try and sway things in your favor and try and get a couple more goals. And we just didn't see that fight in the team on a consistent basis, I think, in this series.
Yeah, I thought that Seattle did a very good job of swarming the Cougars, taking away that time and space, not allowing Cougars to set up shop. I thought their speed was extremely evident in that series as well. And, they showed why they are amongst the elite in the Western Conference. Obviously, they got to go through a very good Kamloops Blazers team to get back to the WHL final, which should be a pretty good series in its own right. But Seattle flexing its muscles early on in the playoffs, much like the Blazers, 8 up and 8 down.
Yeah, no, for sure. And that's going to be a good series to watch. There's a lot of high-end NHL talent currently on both rosters. And, you're going to see quite the fireworks between the two teams. And, I do think goaltending is in favor of Seattle quite heavily. But, we might see some good play coming out of Ernst for the Blazers as, they've come this far. And I think for them to be able to knock off one of the top teams in the country and potentially a team that they'd face again in the Memorial Cup at home as they host, that's going to be a very enticing opportunity for them to just cut the cord now for Seattle before they may have to play them later.
Yeah, and if the Blazers end up I guess a mild upset over the Thunderbirds, whomever comes out of the Eastern Conference would automatically be in the Memorial Cup. So definitely no shortage of intrigue from either side of the Western Hockey League in regards to that series.
Certainly.
Well, I guess moving on here as we get set for this podcast, I want to mention that one of our Hockey North athletes, Jordan Fairlie, will be our guest on this week's episode. Of course, Jordan playing with the Prince George Spruce Kings the past 3 seasons, former Caribou Cougar of the Fort St. John area. He has now committed to the University of Toronto, similar to former Spruce King and Ontario product Jet Alexander. Jet, of course, played prior to Jordan Fairlie joining the Spruce Kings. We'll get more in depth on that interview a bit later on here. But, Jordan Fairlie, a high-class kid, a quality kid in the junior hockey ranks, and nice to see him continue on his path here at the post-secondary level in Canada. Welcome back to the Hockey North podcast. Here with me now is fellow Hockey North athlete as well as Prince George Spruce King goaltender Jordan Fairlie. Jordan, first of all, welcome back to the program and some big news in regarding your future here.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me back.
Yeah. Well, Jordan, your season with the Spruce Kings ended a few weeks back, but some exciting news about your playing future. Signing a commitment with the University of Toronto. I guess just maybe talk about how that opportunity presented itself and what made that maybe the best fit for you when it came to post-secondary.
Yeah, they started talking to me last season, and it's kind of been a bit of a long process, but I know it's good to go somewhere that wants you just as bad as you want to be there. So I'm really happy about it. I think it's a really good place to play. From everything I've heard, they've got a really good coaching staff, facilities, even the school itself. It's a really good academic school. So I think all aspects of the program kind of drew me in, and I'm really excited for next year.
Of course, Spruce Kings alumni Jet Alexander, part of the University of Toronto. I'm not sure if the both of you were teammates ever with the Spruce Kings, but did you ever reach out to him about what the U of T was like and what his experience was over there?
Yeah, he actually reached out to me when I committed. Coach kind of passed my number along to a few guys, so I got a text from him, and he's a really nice guy, and I'm excited to get working with him. I was never on his team in PG though. The year he left was the year I came. So
yeah, well, it's nice to have that connection regardless. Obviously, your last season in the BCHL did not end the way that you wanted to, with the Spruce Kings falling to the Salmon Arm Silverbacks. I guess when you look back on the season that was, Jordan, what kind of didn't go your way?
I just think maybe we could have played a little bit better in the playoffs. It's just it's the way it goes, in the playoffs. Sometimes you won't have your best game every single night, but you're just trying to put together wins, and we didn't get bounces. Stuff didn't go our way, but overall, I mean, we still had a winning record and a decent season. So it would have been nice to get a few more wins in the playoffs and go a little further, but it didn't end up happening.
Big summer ahead of you here, Jordan. What are some of the things that you're going to try and work on to give yourself the best position to play potentially in year one at U of T?
I think I'm going to be in the gym a lot, trying to get a little bit stronger, a little bit bigger, and then on the ice a couple times a week, working on all aspects of my game. I know I gotta get better a little bit everywhere, so working on everything to be a more well-rounded, full, complete goalie.
What would you say your biggest attribute is as a goaltender?
I'd say probably my athleticism and kind of battle. I'm always a guy who competes really hard, and I don't give up on any play, and I use my athletic ability a lot. So like speed, agility, athleticism.
Mm-hmm. Now you've spent quite a bit of time here in the north. You're from Fort St. John area. You grew up there. You came to Caribou for a season. Then you committed to the Spruce Kings. When you look back on the last few years, are you pretty happy to be able to have the chance to play pretty close to home?
Yeah, it's really nice. I know my family's only a couple hours away, so they get to come see me a lot more often than if I was somewhere else. And I did my last year of high school here. I've still got a lot of friends here, so I'm glad I got to almost play at home. It's the closest team.
Yeah. So maybe talk about some of the, memories you'll take away with you being a member of either the Caribou Cougars or the Prince George Spruce Kings, and just maybe touch on some of the close friendships that you've kind of ignited over the past, 3-4 seasons.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of teammates there that I played with over the past 3, 4 seasons, and a lot goes on with the guys throughout a year. When you spend 3, 4 years with a guy on the same team, you get to know each other pretty well. So, I mean, even in my last 3 years, I've had like 3 or 4 different billet brothers already too. So a lot of guys that you're living with, and it just creates a lot of memories being with guys all the time.
Mm-hmm. I remember that first year that you came on, it was the pod season in the BCHL. That was certainly not a very easy situation for anybody. What do you remember about that season in particular, just based on the uncertainty and everything that was going on with the pandemic and everything, and just kind of being in that bubble type situation?
Yeah, the uncertainty was definitely tough. We would kind of be told we're starting our season next month, and then next month would come, and then it'd be pushed back another month, and then it'd come and be pushed back again, and that kind of started to feel repetitive. And towards the end of the season, guys were losing hope, but then we got told that the pod was going to happen, and then quarantine, and you're going there. So there wasn't much time to prepare for it after quarantine, and we just knew right away that we're playing. So we were just excited to be able to play some games, because I know it's a long time to just be practicing for 6, 7 months on end. So guys were excited to actually be able to play after that, and the whatever it was, 36 days in a hotel together. It was a definite bonding moment, because you can't escape each other. It was only us. We're in a bubble, so we only had each other for however long we were there together.
Yeah, and obviously, there was you, there was Aaron Trotter, Kobe Grant was on that team as the third goalie on that roster. He ended up winning the Chilliwack pod, as it were. And then, during that time, you were kind of that 1A, 1B combo with Aaron Trotter the next year. Just maybe talk about what made you and Trotter kind of that effective 1A, 1B kind of combination the following season.
I think it was our compete and like competitiveness. Definitely against each other, we were always pushing each other. So I know when I was on the ice with him, it was we were battling hard, and like a healthy competition where we're trying to do our best and kind of outperform the other guy in a way, but still like a friendly relationship where we each want to play games, but we know that the other guy is really good and he's going to be able to play those games as well. So it's a little bit of a friendly competition, healthy competitiveness between us that kind of pushed us both to get better, I think.
And obviously, you, like a lot of hockey players growing up, had your fair share of idols, either, locally in the region or in the pro ranks. Who do you still look up to in terms of goaltenders, whether it be in the NHL or just people that you kind of grew up watching, even around our region growing up?
I'd say currently right now, my favorite NHL goalie is UC Saros. I like him. He's a smaller guy, but he can't just use his size. He's got to battle and compete, play a really good positional game, a lot of athleticism with him. So when I'm watching somebody and I want to watch hockey, he's the guy who I turn to. I think he's my favorite athlete to watch. But yeah, I know growing up in Fort St. John, there's always people who, older goalies that you look up to. And, just when you're a young guy trying to figure everything out, you always want to have somebody that you can base your game around, you can kind of look up to and have an idol. So I think growing up, just anybody who's around you, just trying to soak up knowledge from the older people.
And of course, during the year, you did a Behind the Mask fundraiser with the Canadian Mental Health Association. Just talk about that for a minute and why it meant so much to you to want to get involved in that in your last season.
Well, I mean, mental health is a really big issue, and it's still probably not talked about enough. So, I wanted to do something because I know I've been impacted myself, and some people that I know have also been impacted by it. So, it's something that can definitely help people out, and finding resources and raising funding towards it. And I also want to do something for the community here in PG. I've been living here for the last 4 years, and I've got nothing but support. So a way to kind of give back to the people that have supported me. All the money is kind of staying here locally. It's all going to the CMHA of Northern British Columbia. So I was happy to be able to do something for all the people that have helped me out through the last 4 years.
Mm-hmm. You talked about the mental side of everything, the mental side of the game. That's almost the vast majority of the battle when you're a goaltender, because you have to have that, short memory. You can't let, a bad goal or a bad period, kind of seep into your concentration. How have you been able to try and either block out a bad goal that you've let in or deal with kind of setbacks, whether the team's doing well or not doing well? How do you try and kind of maintain that focus in between the pipes?
Yeah, I use a lot of positive affirmations. There's a few like set phrases that I have during certain situations that I'll tell myself, kind of relieve some pressure or get me amped up depending on what I need. I did use a sports psychologist. I've been working with him for 2 years, and I thought he's helped me out a lot. And yeah, I think just kind of biggest thing is trying to stay in the moment and just really focus on what's happening right now. You can't get too caught up in what just happened or what you think is going to happen next. It's just really staying in the moment.
Mm-hmm. You ever been to Toronto before?
I think I went once when I was like 11 or 12. I don't really remember it at all.
Yeah. Well, I'm just curious because I know, like, for some, they either want to stay close to home or they relish going away from home and just kind of have that whole, university experience. What are you going to be taking when you head down to the U of T?
I want to be a life science major, so I'll be my goal right now is to double major in physiology and psychology, taking a life science program, getting a Bachelor of Science there.
Is there like a certain type of job or career path that you want for yourself?
If hockey doesn't work out, I think I'd be willing to go to med school. I'd try to go to med school afterwards. And if I don't go to med school, I'd be super interested in sports psychology.
All right. Well, keep aiming your goals high, and best of luck to you on the ice in the future with the University of Toronto. And I'm sure we will cross paths again here in the not too distant future. So thank you very much for coming on again, Jordan.
Yeah, thank you very much.
All right. Thank you.
All right, and that was our interview with Jordan Fairlie. And what are your thoughts there on your chat there with the former Prince George Spruce Kings netminder?
Well, I think it's always nice to catch up with Jordan. A very relaxed kid, very well balanced, and it's nice to see him, get the opportunity, as like many Northerners or many overagers for that matter, to get that scholarship. I know that he was trying to maybe get his NCAA eligibility back in terms of that appeal that he had filed a year and some ago, because he did play that one game for the Swift Current Broncos about 3 years ago now. But it was a chance for him to continue on with his playing days, and nice to see that Fairlie will likely have a chance to command the net or be part of the goaltending picture from day one at the U of T. Obviously, it's going to be a bit of a culture shock for him going from Prince George to Toronto, but he's very much looking forward to that challenge. And I know myself, along with the rest of us here with HockeyNorth, as well as the Spruce Kings and the Caribou Cougars, are wishing Jordan the best of luck in his future endeavors. And Fairlie pretty good behind the net for the Spruce Kings during the 3 seasons, and it was part of a very good tandem between the pipes with him and Aaron Trotter for the first 2 seasons he was on the Spruce Kings in the BCHL.
Definitely. And it's really good to see. I mean, Jordan Fairlie, anyone who's ever talked to him, he's such a great guy, and he's worked very hard, and he's had to come back from some pretty big injuries as well, which that just adds to the mountain that some athletes have to climb. And he definitely showed his northern colors in the battle back, and to be rewarded here to move on to go play college and get that opportunity to continue to play and get that education is huge, and we're super stoked for Jordan on that. Any other thoughts you got here, Brendan?
Well, I just want to go around the horn here for our northern products before we sign off on this week's episode. I know we normally do this at the top, but we'll do this at the bottom as we don't have as many northerners left in these playoffs. Tanner Molendijk, of course, of the Saskatoon Blades, forcing a Game 7 with the Red Deer Rebels, battling back from 3-0 down against the Rebels at one point. So Game 7 taking place in Saskatoon. Of course, we would be remiss not to mention Nico Mijatovic of Prince George, a member of the Thunderbirds, going to round 3 with them. That series, of course, starts down in Friday in Kent near the Emerald City. Spruce Grove Saints, Brooks Bandits tied up at 1 apiece in the league final in the Alberta Junior Hockey League. Why is that significant? Well, Brophy Dunn and Hunter Brown, 2 Northerners and former Caribou Cougars, heading back to home ice for games 3 and 4 of that series. That best of 7, as I mentioned, tied up at 1-1. Nathan Mackey of the Salmon Arm Silverbacks, he's off to round 3 with Salmon Arm after a good win on Friday against the Vernon Vipers. They will now play Penticton in the interior final. The Chilliwack Chiefs waiting the winner of Surrey and Alberni Valley in the Mainland Conference. As we take a look, of course, also at Pro in the American Hockey League, we have a few Northerners still kicking around. Jansen Harkins, of course, former Prince George Cougar with the Manitoba Moose. Jansen, of course, originally from North Vancouver, but of course, the connections to our region and the Cougars as well. So we're wishing Jansen the best of luck in that. It's actually going to be an all-Canadian matchup here in the AHL as well, as the reigning Coach of the Year, Mitch Love, and the Calgary Wranglers welcoming the Abbotsford Heat. Tristan Nielsen of Fort St. John, a member of the Abbotsford Canucks. So it's going to be a nice head-to-head matchup there. We want to also send our congratulations to Mitch Love on winning that Coach of the Year honor with the Calgary Wranglers. No doubt maybe a chance for him to get some NHL consideration in the summer. Couple of college commitments to pass along your way. Casey Dittner, former Northern Capital, who played in the Northern Alberta Extreme Female Prep Program this year, committing to Trinity Western Spartans of U Sports, of course. Ella Boone, Carson Niven, Brooklyn Hutchings, among many Northern products on that hockey roster down in U Sports. So another familiar face heading south to the Lower Mainland. And Sierra Eagles, another former Northern Capital, will be heading to the defending Atlantic University Sport Women's Hockey Champion UNB Reds next fall. Eagles, of course, from Tumbler Ridge, played in the JWHL this past year for the Pacific Steelers. Of course, the Eagles was a Northern Capital 2 years ago. So congratulations to both Casey and Sierra on their recent college commitments. And of course, during last week's show, we also showcased Haley Armstrong getting that Div 1 scholarship to Bemidji State down in Minnesota. So there you have it. That's our a little bit more brief but Northern roundup here for athletes still kicking around in the junior circles.
Definitely. And a little tidbit there for Sierra Eagles. So her and Carson Niven split the crease for the Northern Capitals on that run where they went really far in as you mentioned, Haler Armstrong be part of that team. And for the most part, Niven and Eagles split that crease 50-50. Both goaltenders were more than good enough to be a starter on any other team in their division. So really cool to see both of them getting that opportunity to play U Sports. And I don't think it's going to be too much of a shock to see both of them put in the work and have some success at the U Sports level as well. And before we log off here for this week, we'd like to just give a big congratulations and farewell to the 3 20-year-olds that will be leaving the Prince George Cougars as they go on to their pro careers. We're going to be looking at Chase Wheatcroft. He's going to be going on back to the pro ranks. He's going to be playing for the Texas Stars, and maybe they'll be at the Dallas Stars campus. He signed with them near the end of the year here. And Jackson Weeb, who signed with the Anaheim Ducks, will be getting his shot to go be a part of that organization this next season. And then for Cole Dubinsky, who has been, I think he became a very quick fan favorite since coming over in that trade with Regina. And, a brief time here for pretty much all of those 20-year-olds, but safe to say they made a lot of memories here with Cougars fans. And once you're a Cougar, you're always a Cougar. So thank you and farewell to the big three.
Yeah, some very good additions by the Cougars. Dubinsky with his rugged play, obviously injuries kind of put a damper on him a little bit while his time in the Northern Capital. Jackson Weave, of course, all the intangibles, World Cup experience, arguably the Cougars' best player in the playoffs until he got suspended early on in Series 2 against Seattle. And, of course, what can you say? Chase Wheatcroft, arguably the steal of the century for Mark Lamb from the Winnipeg Ice, second only to Connor Bedard in the Western Hockey League scoring race, putting up a career year, getting signed by the Dallas Stars, as you mentioned. Also want to throw in there that Tyler Brennan, of course, looking to go pro next year as well, as he signed his deal with New Jersey, and ditto for Ethan Sampson. He's property of Philadelphia, so we'll see if those two make the jump as well. And of course, we'll be keeping a keen eye on the NHL draft with Riley Heidt, Cohen Ziemer in the top 30 of these active skaters in North America. Hudson Thornton further down the list at 206, but from a Cougar standpoint, that's where they are. And of course, Nico Mijatovic ranked in the top 26 as well in North America, and Tanner Mollendijk of the Saskatoon Blades, number 28. Terrell Goldsmith, PA Raiders, 180th. So much like the Cougars, the North very well represented in those draft rankings also.
Absolutely. It's going to be exciting to watch, and we'll definitely be keeping our eyes out for it, covering it here at Hockey North. And until next time, we'll see you here next week. Farewell from the Hockey North podcast. Bye for now.